Good afternoon. I'm Chief Steve Hebby, and we're here again for the Cop Shop with FPD. I'm flying solo today. My compatriot, Georgette Allen, has decided that she didn't feel like showing up for work today, and so she just took the day off. I mean, she does whatever she wants to do, folks. I try and control it, but it's really a fruitless endeavor. So I'm here by myself, loyally still slugging it out. I'm here with my able assistant, as always. Scott is here once again, wanting to talk about the Buffalo Bills, but we're not going to get into that. We have a guest today with us. It's MP Schildmeyer. How are you, MP?
I'm good, Chief Hebby. I'm pleased to be here with you, and I'll try my best to take Georgette's place, but I know it's a tall order.
It's a tall order, but you know, if you have a few snarky comments, well, then you'd be matching Georgette's contribution generally.
Well, I've never been known to be snarky.
Oh,
but I do want to talk about the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, yeah, didn't they fire their coach this year too?
Well, they may have.
Yeah, the Packers did. I know that.
Well, okay.
I think the Bills are the only ones that kept their coach, so I have less to say this week than I usually do on the subject. But we're actually here to talk with MP. She is co-chair of the LGBTQ Pride organization here in Farmington, and she is here representing Identity Inc. as well, which is a resource center here in Farmington that's been operating for now, is it 4 years?
Yeah, about 4.5 years.
4.5 years, all right. Okay. So it started not long after I got here, I guess.
That's right.
Dr. Judy Polier from the college was really one of the main starters. There were other contributors, of course, but I knew Judy, and I had partnered up with Judy. Her untimely passing a couple of years ago has left Identity now with other people stepping forward, and MP plays a role in that, and she's here today to talk about an upcoming event that Identity Inc. is hosting, and that's a Law Enforcement Appreciation Day.
That's right, and Law Enforcement Appreciation is really directly related to the Pride Parade as well as to Identity. The first year, which was also 4 years ago, we're having our 4th parade this year. And by the way, that's on June 15th, Saturday. Assemble at 10 a.m., step off at 11. We'll be going from chicken to chicken again, from Church's Chicken down to KFC, down Main Street.
Very good.
Thanks. So the reason that it's related to law enforcement is that was the year in 2016 of the Pulse nightclub massacre in Orlando, Florida. And it was a week after that we had our own Pride Parade here in Farmington, and we were scared. A lot of us were scared. Nobody knew if this was some kind of national uprising or what. We always have to be worried about such things, unfortunately. But the Farmington Police Department, who I was not all that familiar with at the time, stepped up, and Chief Hebby led the way. And I mean, we had snipers on every roof. We had the bomb squad there. We were protected, and we felt very secure. And that was such a new experience for me. So we're this community, the LGBT community here in San Juan County and Farmington, is really happy to show our appreciation for law enforcement, because that's not the only instance where they've stepped up.
Well, thank you. I think it's hard to believe already. It's 4 years. I was thinking on my drive here, this was going to be your 3rd year of doing the Pride Parade, but it is 4 years.
It is the 4th one.
Yes, but that first one was. Well, it occurred during very difficult times. For those of our listeners that remember the Pulse shooting in Orlando, was at that time was the largest mass shooting in American history, and it was specifically targeted an LGBTQ bar. From law enforcement's perspective, of course, it was another horrific shooting, but it also was a very unusual shooting. It started off as a mass shooting, and then it transitioned into a barricaded subject late in the go, which was something that SWAT teams across the country really took note of, including Farmington PD, because that was not typical for us. It was, you know, once the shooting started, it was a mass shooting previous to that. So this was one of the first ones that ever transitioned into a substantial barricade. So there was a lot to learn from law enforcement from that. But I remember the next day I was driving up to Durango with my wife, and we got a call from Judy, and there was very great concern from our local Pride Parade committee that this was going to be that there were going to be threats that they might face, and that the fear in your community was going to be translating into a lack of attendance, a lack of participation, because they were afraid to come out. And so that was something that meant a lot to us. We're everybody's police department, and everybody gets to come out and celebrate their day, their cause, and so we really did throw a lot of resources to make sure that went safely and that people felt safe to participate in it.
We did, and there was another interesting aspect of that. We were lining up, and I noticed a gentleman at the back of the line wearing a gun. He had a handgun, visible handgun, and I walked up to him and I said, "Sir, do you think you could maybe take that back? I mean, we're kind of upset about what just happened last week, and we're on edge, and people are nervous about that." And he said, "No, I can't do that. I'm here to protect you." I said, "Sir, as you can see, we have a lot of protection. Do you think you could take that gun off?" He said, "No, I'm not going to do it." So I went to the corporal that was in charge, and he talked to the gentleman, and he wouldn't do it either. And so we discovered, all of us, that the law at that time provided that anybody could come as long as they had a proper gun registration and license, and he did. But what came of that is the policy now that's been in place since then, that nobody at any parade in the city of Farmington is allowed to carry a weapon. So I appreciate that as well.
Sure. That was dicier times. And so that person was actually a member of your group or of your parade that was carrying, and emotions were running high that day. But that one came off, and I think you had both a parade and then you had kind of an information / gathering at Berg Park later on, and the whole thing came off. There were no incidents. Everything came off really very well, I thought. It
did. Yes, it came. There were no incidents. We received no threats, and I guess you guys didn't receive any threats either. So,
no.
So we were, we're proud of the community for that, and proud of the FPD for the care they took of us. And thanks again.
No, absolutely. So from there, and you're right. You and I just kind of were meeting each other at that stage. I'd been around Judy some because of Identity Inc. and some work she was doing for the PD with the college. But from there, we've had now a couple of more of those events, and really we haven't seen any. There's been nothing, but it's been a positive outcome, and no threats, nothing concerning really at all.
Right, and we're really proud of the Farmington, San Juan County LGBT community, and we're proud of Identity Inc., especially since Identity is the only brick-and-mortar LGBT community center in the whole state of New Mexico. They have a student center at UNM in Albuquerque, but not a general community center. So this is something that the county and the area can be proud of, as are we. And again, a lot of credit goes to Dr. Polier, Judy Polier, for that as one of the co-founders. And I know that Identity has done the sensitivity training for the FPD for LGBT training. So we're happy to do that. There are a lot of other things that Identity has as services available. One of the other unique things is that Identity has a LGBT teen support group. Meets every Monday, I believe, at 4:30, and this is led by a licensed therapist. And as a 501c3 nonprofit, Identity does not charge anyone to participate in this. But the teen suicide rate among LGBT teens is 4 to 6 times that of the national average of non-LGBT teens. And if you look at the statistics on the reservation among the native population, it's 8 times that. So it's a huge issue, and this service of the teen support group is just invaluable. And it's the only one in the county. So we can be proud of that, and we want to keep that going. So Identity is working on some fundraising programs. So any of you out there that might wish to contribute, you can do that.
And where are you located, MP? Where's Identity located?
The community center is located at 204 West Main Street in Farmington, downtown. It's right across the street from the Daily Times, the newspaper building.
And that's something that is open to the public. Anybody can stop in. You can take a look at the resources and the services available there.
Yes, sir. We can do that. Anyone can stop by, and they often do. Identity also has a food bank. If you're hungry and you need food, you can stop by and you will be helped out. We have a couple of computers that are available for anybody that walks through the door. There's free Wi-Fi. If you need any services, Identity will attempt to help you. You don't have to be a member of the LGBT community, and you don't have to be afraid to come through the door. We have nice people working there, and they will take care of you. And so, again, come to this Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. That's next Wednesday, the 27th. And it's going to run from 3 to 7 p.m. So stop by. We're going to have food. It wouldn't be law enforcement if you didn't have donuts, so we're going to have donuts and coffee.
Well, I'm swearing off those lately in an effort to not collapse my chair, but...
yeah, you're looking really svelte, Chief. What can I say?
Well, it's taken a while, unfortunately. I started pretty high. But that's great that it is open to the public and for law enforcement throughout San Juan County. And we're kind of a lonely little bastion out here. We don't have, like you see down in the Albuquerque area where you've got multiple departments and a high population base. We're really out here kind of on an island. It's the four agencies from the local area, and then it's a state police contingent and an FBI contingent. There's some marshals out here. But really pretty tight-knit group. And I know the invitation isn't just for FPD, it's for all law enforcement within San Juan County to come out, and the public too, to see the officers and see the resources that Identity Inc. has.
Yep, we hope to have a big crowd, so if you're listening out there, come on down next Wednesday, the 27th.
So we have talked at times over the last couple of years that we've done the show about police suicides, and suicide among law enforcement is a significant issue that chiefs across the country and greater thinkers than I try and wrangle with. But when you look at the suicide rate within the LGBTQ community, I mean, it's nothing short of alarming. And so that's one reason that FPD has been so invested in helping Identity Inc. is it provides a resource to citizens in our community that frankly the police department winds up having contact with when there's suicide threats or active attempts at suicide. The police get involved in those, and so the resources that Identity Inc. brings both on the back end after police have gotten involved, but more importantly on the front end before law enforcement's needed. It's a great thing for our community and singular in the state.
Yes, it is. And I mean, suicide, you mentioned it among your own troops, and certainly with the LGBT community, it's always been an issue because of the discrimination that we face, and the people don't accept us. And I think that comes mainly from fear, which is another reason that it's important to be out and visible in the community. That's why we're proud to have a community center. If you know that there are gay people in your community and you see, wow, they look like everybody else, well then, you're not as afraid. So we hope that we're an assistance to the whole community in that regard. Some of the other things that we do provide are some housing assistance. There's been a lot of young people, age 18, maybe college age, that have been thrown from their homes from their parents. They're still living at home and they come out and that's it. That's a big issue in the community. It applies to younger kids as well. That's why the support group is so important. I mean, we've had kids 13, 14 years old threatened with death by their families, and so we try to do what we can, and we can provide housing assistance for the 18 and above, and we have done that. There's something else that happened recently. I was there, and this young man was just, I walked in the door and he was talking to our receptionist and just sobbing, and I'm like, what's going on? And the young man had moved here recently, got himself an apartment, was working on college and doing everything right, got him a job at Burger King. And apparently his coworkers, his immediate supervisor, were just mercilessly berating this man and calling him a faggot, and it was somewhat upsetting, as you might imagine. So what we were able to do was call the Community Relations Commission here in Farmington, the CRC, which is another actually unique organization that San Juan County has, unlike any other in the state. So they were able to talk with Burger King, get it straightened out. The young man was secure in his job again, and those people that had been calling him names were fired. So I was really proud not only of our center for providing that service to him, and referring him to the CRC, but definitely for the CRC for doing their job.
So the CRC, the Community Relations Council, is a group that the PD is currently working with. So on April 18th, and I don't know if you've got that on your calendar, but throw her down. Same for all our listeners. April 18th, Farmington PD is hosting a panel discussion on immigration issues and the police. It's certainly been a hot topic. Now, lately we've moved it into more of the Second Amendment stuff with the legislative activity. But prior to that, and I think going forward, immigration issues have been a very important issue for a significant number of people in San Juan County. And what position is the Farmington Police Department taking, and how do we handle immigration issues? And so it's an open discussion forum. We'll have some folks from the PD there. We're going to have some resources outside. Maybe from the school district, immigration attorneys, things like that are available for people that do show up, but also a question and answer session to the panel who will involve somebody from CRC, somebody from the police department, somebody from SOMOS, somebody from Enlace. So April 18th, 6 to 8 p.m., a chance to hear, how law enforcement is handling immigration challenges in San Juan County, and how the community sees the police department. And we're interested in hearing what your concerns are. So there's kind of a plug for CRC, but you had affiliation with them on something else.
Right. So, and again, CRC, that was invented, not the CRC itself, but the methods that they use, they developed those themselves, and it's, again, unique to our area. And that's why I want to say that when you're talking about community policing, when you're talking about how your police force relates with the community, as well as, for example, the presence of the LGBT community, how open is that? These are economic issues, and I think all of us realize that San Juan County is facing some serious economic issues now and in the near future with the closure of the power plant looming. And it's important that this area, if we're to welcome new people who want to come and live here and maybe start and grow their own businesses or participate in businesses we already have here, it needs to be a welcoming community to all people. And people need to feel safe. And I can tell you, I've been around a while, and the Farmington PD is the first police department that I, as a lesbian, have ever felt safe with, because the history with our community and the police has not been a good one. I mean, it's been 50 years since the modern LGBT rights movement started as a result of the Stonewall Rebellion in New York City. And that rebellion was a direct result of the police department up there arresting and beating and just basically abusing the LGBT community when they were at their own facility, a bar, trying to be social with one another. So thanks for that.
So that is something that, in year 2 that we ran the Pride Parade, we met, and I'm not sure what had triggered it nationally. For us, it was just happened to be year 2. But nationally, there was more of a movement within the LGBTQ community that maybe some felt they were getting too close with police, and that to an extent these were supposed to be protest parades against the police. And so in some cities, Minneapolis, New York City, and a few others, the police were asked not to participate in those parades. And so when we met to get ready for the second Pride Parade, we were talking about pulling back our security a little bit, trying to have less of a footprint, so that we didn't, cause those kind of concerns within the community up here. And to me, as the chief, it meant a lot that, unanimously from your committee, guys did not want it to be that way, that you valued the relationship with the PD. And honestly, that meant a lot to me and to my command staff that were present.
Well, I'm glad, and definitely we value our relationship, and it's always been a good one. And there was a group of individuals who felt the way you described against the police, and it was based primarily on an experience that transgender people had in Washington, D.C. with the Washington, D.C. police. And it was not a good experience. And again, I've spent a good deal of my life in Atlanta, Georgia, and we had very bad experiences, starting from the civil rights movement with an all-white police force through the LGBT rights movement, and it was not good. And this is just such a relief and such a wonderful experience. And thanks again.
No, so my philosophy really, and I think you see it in our officers, is we're a neutral police force. We're here to make sure that people feel safe in our community, that they do feel welcome in our community, no matter what their political persuasion is, and we've got them on all sides of every issue. So we try not to wade too deeply in those. Our job as the police is to enforce the law and protect the rights of our citizens. And so if we're achieving that, and all groups feel like, hey, we get to have our say, and even if we're mad, we get to have it, and we'll maybe find out on the 18th how people feel on the immigration issue. But we'll listen to those things, and we'll do our best to explain what we're doing and why, or maybe adjust fire a little bit if we're off base and somebody's pointing that out. But really, our department strives to be as neutral and welcoming as we can be, and so I've been appreciative of having you guys. Were in this week at our fallouts, training all our officers on the resources that you're talking about today that Identity Inc. has. I don't know that all our officers knew that, and we've done the transgender training, and we'll probably be in line to do some more of that in the future. I mean, that's a department that I want to have in our community.
And you're well on the way. And we'll support you however we can.
Well, I appreciate that. So, back to the Falcons. Good gravy. That explains a lot of the history. But honestly, things looked up for you once you left Atlanta, I think.
But I take my love of the Falcons with me, and
well,
you're just going to have to put up with it, Gene.
One of these days, Scott will have this mute button, and I can just kind of reach over there, and we'll just. But he doesn't have it set up yet. So I guess I got to let you have that say there. So we're very welcoming on political issues, but not on football issues.
That's right.
And those were pretty singular for the mighty Packers.
Well, I look forward to the fall when you put your cheese head on.
Yes, it was a long fall last year, so I'm looking forward to a better one.
All right.
But thank you very much for coming in today.
My pleasure.
We'll look forward to the 27th. Our listeners can come out from 3 to 7, and it's at 204 West Main Street at the Identity Inc. headquarters. Come on in, take a look at the resources they have available, talk to some of our officers that'll be there for law enforcement appreciation, and that means a lot to us that you guys are hosting it, and thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And have a great week, and we'll see you next time on the Cop Shop with FPD.
.9 FM, KSJE Farmington is now listener supported. Keep the programs you love by joining us today at ksje.com/support.
On the